computer. Okay, we are set. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our coffee chat today. Thanks, everyone, for joining. And I know throughout the time, we'll find more and more folks come into the call. And as you do, if you wouldn't mind putting your phones on mute, and I'll put you on mute as well, or if you can put yourself on, just so that we can keep the background noise down a little bit as a courtesy to everybody listening. And we'd love to see you guys. If you do have a camera on your phone or a camera on your computer, come wave and say hello to everybody here. This morning, our special guest is Nigel Cumberland. He has graciously offered to give us his time today to talk to everybody. He has had incredible success with his book series, 100 Things. I did get to take a look at it, and he's going to present a lot of incredible stuff that he's done. He is also a leadership coach and founder of the Silk Road Partnership. So welcome, Nigel, and thanks for joining us this morning, this afternoon. You're based in UK, so...
I am. I shouldn't be. I should be in Asia, as Todd knows as well, but I can't get back into Malaysia because they have totally banned even husbands of Malaysians with any form of visa from re-entering the country. So I've made a firm decision to be based in London, and my wife's going to pack up and bring everything back, including the cats. And so unexpectedly, I'm back in my home country after 20 odd years. I've become a UK taxpayer. But what to do, you know? I need to be healthy and alive. But really, it's amazing this year. It's amazing this year. The changes.
All you can do is adapt. Just know that it's going to happen, and we don't know what, but just adapt to it and go. Right. Make the best of it. Right. So again, welcome.
Right. So everybody, I've got a plan. I'm going to show you a range of slides, only with pictures in. I'm going to walk through how I've achieved my success as an author. It's not to show off. It's my definition of success. I'll even share book numbers. And from the slides, make notes on the things I've done, and don't have to copy me, but certainly I think it's food for thought for things you're already doing or you might do. And then after that, that might last only 10 minutes, actually, the slides. I'll kind of go one to the other. And each slide is a different thing I've done. Once that's happened, let's have some Q&A on those. Then I'm happy when the moment's right, we move into your questions on leadership. I guess leadership in our roles as authors of ourselves, of our businesses, and you had some questions. But talking to Judy and Pashmina, there was a real feeling of, could you also sort of share your journey and how you went from selling, I'll show you what I'm talking about now, went from selling very little in terms of books by going to share screen. There we are. Can you see my screen? There we are. Okay. I don't know whether the pictures of us are blocking anything, but I want to share how I went from, in 2003, producing the book at the bottom right called Your Job Unlimited. It's the yellow book in the bottom. That was written in Hong Kong. I was a recruiter. I thought, I want to write a book. So I self-published in Hong Kong through a local publisher where I kind of contributed to the costs, and called Your Job Unlimited. And I thought, wow, I've published 2,000 books and I've managed to sell a few and give a lot away. And I didn't write then for quite a while. And by accident, by sheer luck, I was found by Hachette, the large publishing group. And I wrote some very small books, things like leading teams, finding and hiring talent. They were part of series. So I also sold very few because they were part of series, and I thought, this is cool. I didn't earn very much in royalties, but I had very little control at that point. I realized with my first book in Hong Kong, I had absolute control. The cover I designed with a South China Morning Post newspaper cartoonist, everything. I moved to a bigger publisher. I suddenly thought, oh my God, I've lost the control, because they took command of layouts, structure, distribution, timing. But I thought, okay. And then I also produced Secrets of Success at Work, which began to be more successful. And then I contributed to the Ultimate Management book. But still, I was a small, very small part of a very large publishing group. And then what happened in 2015, I'm being very quick, okay, giving the story, because I think it helps you all. And I know from your questions if I was right. 2015, a new person joined the bit of my publisher. So one imprint of Hachette called Hodder and Stoughton in the UK, a Scottish guy, said, Nigel, I think there's an appetite for a new kind of 100 Things book to compete with Richard Templer's The Rules of Life, Rules of Work. And I've been looking at our author pool. I think your background is perfect. Can we explore together producing this book, The 100 Things Successful People Do? That book came out in 2016, and the English version so far, it's funny, I haven't had the numbers for a year because their system's been down and hasn't been repaired in COVID, but I'm told it's about 50,000. It was 45,000 in English of the 100 Things Successful People Do in 4 years. And in a minute, I'll share the facts in 23 or 4 languages. That book changed things, but partly because of what I did, which I'm going to share in a minute. And like Pashmina, who produced her Cappuccino Chronicles, and a few others I know on this call, I think I've got some trilogies or kind of follow-on books. It was kind of natural that even if I didn't think about it, the publisher thought about it. Let's do follow-on books, Nigel. So after some debate, last year, 100 Things Millionaires Do came out. And 2 weeks ago, the Black Book, 100 Things Successful Leaders Do came out. So, moving on, I want to very quickly now share, why can't it change slides? Oh, there we are, sorry. So, I think I'm being successful because my book appears in the beautiful places. And I have made sure, as part of my marketing, I found out where my book is doing well and asked someone to take a photo. So I've literally been asking friends in Cape Town, in Hong Kong, well, I was traveling there, or in Los Angeles, Barnes & Noble, please go and take pictures of my book. So I've literally kind of worked out where it is. And I've amplified that success. If one bookstore had it like on a stand, top left there, that's actually Dubai Airport, I made sure that was photographed and I amplified it in social media. So I created an image that my book was more successful than it really was. So that's number one. You don't have to do what I'm saying. I'm just sharing what I've done. And I'd actually love to hear afterwards your thoughts on, well, what are alternatives? I also try to really monitor and work out where was it been online being called Book of the Month or Most Read Book. And the same thing, I've been taking screenshots virtually every month or every week sometimes and getting that on social media and sharing it with my publisher, my editor, to try and make noise. I also had luck, and I hope some of you got your own stories of luck. So I was lucky that Paris Hilton bought my book, and it was in Harper's Bazaar because the interview in Harper's Bazaar a few years ago in 2016, she had my book with her. So that created some good noise and actually helped my publisher sell the rights to foreign translations because they actually had this as a screenshot in Frankfurt Book Fair in 2017. So it's interesting. If you keep checking Google, is your book appearing anywhere, even the most oddest of places? Well, take screenshots, get it, write to the person who posted it, you know, and if appropriate, reuse. So I also, my Instagram, I turned it into my book Instagram. So as people posted about my books on Instagram, I would repost their posts. So I haven't been that successful. I only have 900 or so followers. But so many posts I found where they tagged my book or misspellings of my book, which is interesting how they misspell our names in our books. So you actually look for hashtags of your book title, misspelled, you'll find posts about your book quite possibly, like cappuccino with only one C in the middle or something. That's been good because it actually has led to. That's actually led to my book, for example, being published in, for example, Taiwan in Chinese, because actually I'm told by someone in Taiwan, a family working for the book Chinese publisher there, hey, I found on Instagram, your book's really, I saw your book on Instagram. And I thought, well, maybe it was I helped create that noise. It's not really big time Instagram. I also, in 2016, was advised have a Wikipedia page. So I got a friend in marketing with a bank to help me. So she produced it, because you aren't supposed to produce your own. I over-edited my own site, and my email got banned as an editing email for Wikipedia, because they knew I was editing my own page. I got told off. That's very common. But the point is, I got a Wikipedia page which has been approved and logged as an author, and I got my book as a Wikipedia page, which is really easy. It's really easy to have your book as a Wikipedia page, but it's really hard to have you as a Wikipedia page. So, but I would encourage you, because I know when I'm asked to be a speaker, even in a book fair, they've seen, or I send them the link to my Wikipedia rather than LinkedIn or website for credibility. Goodreads as well. I've really pushed Goodreads to make sure my books are there and I'm linking things to my account. So I've got like 483 ratings, which I don't know if it's high actually, but I know it creates more visibility. So then I've been watching on the web, and my son also helps me. So who's posting about my book and trying to gather them, and maybe reposting, as I mentioned, on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. So sadly, my social media probably annoys my friends because I've stopped caring about holiday photos, personal stuff. It's brutally about my books and my related coaching and speaking. So maybe I've lost followers. Maybe they've unfollowed me, some of my friends, because my Facebook's become business-like. But I know it helps the book promotion. Luckily, I got it because I'm a big publisher, but I know any size publisher, you can actually get your own book in. I was able to get to the book fairs and produce my publishers have translated my book into many books into different languages, which inundates me with fan mail, including in foreign languages, like on Facebook, where they write in Ukrainian or in Urdu, and I have to go to Google Translate. It's quite fun, but it's seemingly not hard to do if your book is attractive. It can be made, foreign publishers can be made aware of it. Like many of you, and I know, Pashmina, you've had your fair share of book signings, I've been very proactive. I'm an extrovert, push myself out there, go to the Kinokunias, the Buddhas, the Foyles, the W.H. Smiths, the Blackwells in Hong Kong, offering to, even carrying copies of my book and saying, well, I can even give you a couple of copies and you order more from the distributor who, this is the details. I've done a lot of book signings, not with long queues though, but I've made them appear really good by making sure I'm photographed, not the short queue of people, you know, like 3 people. I don't have them photographed. But it's worked really well to create noise. I was lucky enough to be in the Emirates Lit Fest in 2017, and that was really powerful. I sold loads of books. I sold hundreds just from, but they imported a few thousands actually, the book, Magoody's bookstore, and they all went. So if you can get into, if you can promote yourself to the, for example, Emirates Lit Fest in Dubai or some of the other big literature festivals, maybe some of you already are, but I feel that's something I should do more of. So that's another of my suggestions. I've almost finished, by the way, but it's one thing per slide. So like many of you, I've given my publishers help, but not that much actually. But I've, through contacts in some of the well-known UK newspapers, like Daily Express, Independent, my book's been reviewed, and in Dubai and other places. But I've been quite proactive in actually writing, emailing editors, literally going to the newsstand and photographing the editor of, say, Cosmopolitan in Australia or the UK, her email or his email, and emailing them. I'm surprised how often I get replies, and they're often happy to have some free content. And then I write myself. I made an effort to write articles and insist my books, for example, get quoted. So the pink one there at the bottom, you see 100 Things Millionaires Do. That was in Psychologist magazine in the UK at Christmas. I don't know why they chose be an expert negotiator in a psychology magazine, but it didn't matter. I know people saw that because I had at least one person who found my email at the back of my book and said, hey, I saw your article in Psychologist magazine and I bought your book and it's blah, blah, blah. It's interesting, and I mentioned this to Judy and Pashmina yesterday, how people review our books, people pick them up and produce videos and talk about them. And I had Loy Machedo, who's got like 1 million followers, review my book. And I was so upset because it was a bad review. He said, oh, it's boring, it's repetitive. Oh my God, it's like a typical self-help book, right? And even the photo, he actually has photos of my book upside down and also the right way up. But I realized actually, he's a crazy guy, he's a funny guy. I looked at his other book reviews, he's very, very honest. But actually, he has a reach. So I thought to myself, I'm actually going to share my millionaires and leaders books with him. I'm going to probably email him and say, hey, you may not have come across them yet. You did review my first 100 Things book. Because actually, I don't mind him giving it a not so positive review because it has an amazing reach. And I trust he isn't writing anything very bad. It isn't like he's saying it's a don't buy it. He's just saying, isn't that wow? So that's something else. If you can win awards and stuff and become visible, and then try and make sure in the newspaper articles or you mention your books, and I just find it's becoming a bit obsessive, but it's second nature for me. If I'm in any forum or winning anything, I like to have my books mentioned. And I was given Freedom of the City of London not for a particular reason, but when I'm quoted about it, I say, oh, because one of the things is I'm an author. So I kind of, without lying, bring in my books and being an author into situations I'm in. Luckily, I haven't fallen over or got that wrong. And then I try and be in podcasts, be in events, be very open. And I kind of say, look, example, this one here, this one ESGX event, it's about sustainability. I suggested putting my book covers there. And then the other speaker, Veronica, also had a book. So they asked for her book cover. So I kind of proactively suggested, rather than just having me, could we have me in my book? And the same with this Philippines one. It's actually the Philippine Book Festival where I had a friend said, you want to come speak? I said, well, okay. So I when I approved this flyer, I was very happy the book cover was there. And this Unstoppable Entrepreneur was based on a millionaire's book where I had the book with me in the podcast. So I'm going overboard, I suppose, with my advertising and branding, but it seems to have worked. And then I managed to get Audible, so the audio versions, which taken me until this year. So it's very interesting how you got to push sometimes if you have an aspiration to have your book as an audio book. And then finally, I got Marshall Goldsmith, who's quite well known as a coach, to write the foreword to my yellow 100 Things That's What People Do book. That was a bit of a hassle, actually, because he said to me, yeah, sure, mate, I'll do it at this event, in this photo. But then I had to follow up and chase up and push his staff. But I'm really happy I did, because bookstores all know Marshall Goldsmith because of triggers and what got you here, what get you there. So bookstores were happy to take the book because, that's my last slide as well. Oh no, because I'll show you in a second, but on the book cover, I also made sure his foreword is mentioned. That really helped me. And then I was asked by LinkedIn Learning, this is my last slide, to produce training videos. And the same thing, I insisted upon mentioning my books in my intro and in my closing videos as part of the video series. They weren't comfortable, actually, surprising. And thankfully, they even put my latest book title, as you see, on screen, when I think when I was in the introduction. So I had to be a little bit proactive in saying, no, not just me, please, but also I'd like my books to be mentioned. And officially they said it wasn't possible because they don't want to market. But in the end they did. So I've noticed a little bit of pushing sometimes on, will you please put my book cover on the JPEG? Will you please name the book? It seems, well, you can be successful. So, and what I did was, I remember when Marshall Goldsmith, right, there we are, wrote the foreword. It was quite a boring foreword, his assistant wrote. But luckily, he mentioned the words inspiring and practical. So with my publisher's agreement, we took out those words. And so it says, you know, inspiring and practical, Marshall Goldsmith. And Marshall agreed. So even if someone writes a testimonial, it's a little bit dull, like, oh, this is a good book. If you just take out a couple of the words discovered, you can have something that is more impactful. So I'll pause now. And I know that was a bit high speed, but I thought if I'm going to share, I wanted to share the full range. And I think I've covered everything I could think of visually as well. So before I talk about anything like leadership or anything else, can I pause and ask, does anyone have any questions? Do you want to go now to, maybe now we can see each other. Do you want to go to the screen share where we're all the same size? If anyone has any questions or...
And all you have to do is, sorry, Jenna, hold on, just so back to...
Oh, I do it, sorry, I do it, sorry.
No, I took the spotlight off, so if anyone wants to see everybody, they just can pick the gallery view, and that'll change it, so.
So I'll pause, and I know that was quite quick, but I know you've picked up the points, and I could see some smiles and nods. I know many of the things you're already doing, but I hope that range of things maybe has given you ideas. But any comments or feedback, all right, other comments or anything you want to add?
I did have a question. So there's a lot of good points that you have there. What would you say would be like the first step you would recommend for an author to take? Because I think that putting yourself out there is really scary for a first time or a self-published author. So what would be the number one suggestion or recommendation for them out of all of them? Sorry.
Well, okay. Well, first of all, we live in a world now that's global. We're online. So thankfully, no matter, even if you're very introvert, you don't have to be actually being filmed or in person. You can do it now through articles, posts. So I think the key is to say, I really want to get my book out there, and I'm going to do all it takes. And I'm going to be uncomfortable. But luckily, you don't have to physically be going to talking to people. You don't have to be going giving interviews all the time. So I think podcasts are useful if that podcast maker has reach. But I think just getting into some systems. So I was advised by somebody in my publisher, and I'm sure Judy's team and Pasheen will have the same ideas, is have a plan that you're going to work with and grow and see what's happening. And just post, write materials, and then see who you can reach out to. So it's not full time, but there's something about it that is constant. And it comes from a belief of, your book's good. I mean, okay, none of our books, I mean, I haven't sold millions. But it's a belief of, my book, I want it out there. And it's that decision. And it's that decision, for example, okay, I'm going to ensure can I get my book a Wikipedia page? I wonder if that's going to help. It's that, let me do it rather than talk about doing things. Because I must say to all of us as authors, we've overcome the first hurdle is we've stopped talking about writing a book and actually written a book. So now the question is, don't talk about marketing your book and being successful, make it happen. And I think it's the same kind of hurdle to overcome. And I, unfortunately, used to have social media. It was all around, I'm going to Greece, I'm doing this fun thing. And I realized early on, I either have separate social media or I just transform my social media into author and books. And it's become second nature. Now everyone in my life knows about it, they laugh about it, but they recognize it. My publisher likes it. And I've even got, I've got a Bulgarian fan club. And I've got, in Afghanistan, in I don't know, Pashtan, there's a Wikipedia page of me. And in Bangladesh, there's a Bengali, and there's a fan club in Bangladesh. All through the social media, because they've seen noise. And so Jenna, a long answer to your question, Jenna, but I think that was the answer that was required. It's a mindset. Yes. imagine it's your business and you want it to survive, not just sit there. But any more thoughts? Anything else from anyone else in the room? Any other authors on? Even if you want to just share what you're doing that's different to add, because maybe you saw my slides and you had extra thoughts.
Yeah, Renata has a question.
I do. Hi, Nigel.
Hi.
Thanks. This was great. And although I'm not as extroverted as you, I have actually gone after a lot of famous people and I just keep going after them. And when it comes to my book, I just feel adamant about it should be read. It's a fiction book, our book, because I wrote it with my husband there, Mr. H.P. Pavilion. But I love that you say that, because a lot of the time I just think I'm wasting my time because a lot of people don't get back. But I just feel like I have no other choice. I really just have to keep going after everything I want in order for it to happen. So this just is so inspiring to me.
And
I really,
Renata, I like what you're saying about just keep going after. And I have, in the UK, I'm back in the UK, right? And I joined the Labour Party. I mean, for me, Boris Johnson, I just can't go there. You know, I'm a lifelong Tory conservative. I thought, no, I can't go there anymore. I have sent Keir Starmer my the leader's book, these two books. And what about 2 weeks ago? I haven't got a reply yet. And I'm not worried about a reply, but I know I'm going to keep chasing to meet him more to see how I can help. But I know the book's going there may have a life of their own. So what has happened is I, for example, gave one of my books to someone in Dubai, a client, someone I was coaching. And the next thing I learned, is it Damien Lewis? No, Lewis, the actor, the Irish actor. Oh my gosh, Lewis, something Lewis, about 10, 20 years ago. Good looking actor, very famous at the time. Anyway.
Daniel Day-Lewis?
Daniel Day-Lewis, yeah, he's a cousin. He's a cousin. And my coachee, my client, went back on a holiday, went to a wedding, had his book, ended up giving it to Daniel Day-Lewis.
wow.
Oh, and I haven't checked actually, did he post anything? But I mean to write to Daniel Day-Lewis actually to say, hi, I will say you read my book. So I follow these leads when I've got time, almost out of fun, not expecting a reply anymore, but thinking, where will the book go? Who's going to be buying my book because of that?
I love that, because I do think of it partially as fun. And Tim and I have gotten our book to some pretty heavy hitters in Hollywood. And I've been going after like people like Jack Canfield, and I just keep doing it. And I got his notice recently. So I figure, what the hell? I'm just going to keep pushing through.
Jack writes testimonials for many books, like Marshall Goldsmith now, by the way, and many others. So to push him, it shouldn't be a long stretch to have him write a line about your book if he sees a copy, saying, this is an interesting book. I mean, whatever he writes, right, unless he says something negative, could be quotable even in a new edition of the book because of who he is. And if you don't persist, of course.
Yeah, you're not going to get anywhere.
You might if the person goes, wow, yeah, and responds. But you know how busy people are and how momentary people are in our attention, particularly if it's a stranger connecting. Yeah. Anyone else with any thoughts, or just staying on this? I guess it's leadership of yourself as an author, right? We want at the moment. And we can come to some of your questions later on broader leadership. But any more? Was that Anne, your hand? Hi, Anne. You're on mute.
This is, well, what I think is an unusual question, but being here in the United States, where our country is so divided, I know quite a few very popular politicians. Would that be something not to go after? Because if I go after one side versus the other, I alienate people?
I had that same thought when I came back to the UK, and I was chatting to somebody, I don't know who it was, but said, Nigel, surely everyone who sees your books has an opinion. If they're they see the book long enough, they'll have an opinion either good or bad. So I've given my book, this is it, and there's a logic to what I'm going to say. I gave my book to someone in Dubai, a friend. It was, I think it was this one. And it is small font. It's not that small. Oh, it's really small font, isn't it? I put the book down. And I thought, why the hell did I give you my book? So I don't know. If your book is more liberal or right wing, then in theory, the relevant politician is a good thing. If you know it's going to put people off, maybe don't do it. But even if you keep your book neutral, like this, right? Totally neutral, right? You'll still have people go, nah. So the question is, will you sell more having, say, Hillary Clinton or whatever, quoted or writing a forward? Would you sell more than you'll lose? And then the question, I suppose, is how does it make you feel in terms of your values? Is it the kind of person actually that you know, I don't know. I think I'd say probably yes, if you actually feel it'll draw more sales. Because if someone won't buy it, if I saw a book and Boris Johnson had written a forward and the book looked interesting, I don't think I'd not buy the book, even if I've turned left wing. I don't think. So it's also how subtle it is too, you know, or how in your face the person is being quoted as well, maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
Nigel, I really found the fact that you talked about Wikipedia really, really interesting. Do you not have to get nominated for that? Somebody else submits?
Well, okay, interesting. So a lady with HSBC, a friend of mine in Asia, she said, oh, I'll help you. I know what to do. She manages or managed when she was with the bank in her country, the Wikipedia page or something. Not for the bank, for a foundation. She said you need to produce a draft. You create a template of what's proposed, and automatically anonymous editors in the world will start coming because they'll be like almost asked to review and edit the submission. So it's a kind, not a nomination process, but there's a kind of someone submits, hey, we think this page is worthy of being on Wikipedia. Here's a draft of the wording and look and feel. You try and make it clear why. So if it's a quoted author, so you need to put, anytime you're quoted in, if you go to Google News and put your name or the book in, if it comes up, those are the best links to put on your Wikipedia page, because Wikipedia automatically checks back and will say in news feeds, is this person notable or is the book notable? So I didn't have much at the time, but the lady who helped me said, let's search Google and let's cut the links we need and note what they are. And we put those links in your Wikipedia page. So we've now maximized, we've said to Wikipedia, this person really is out there for these reasons. But we are literally, they were the only links of note, every single one we put in. Initially, it was rejected. It was left as a draft. It was said not notable enough. And I simply, that's when she said, well, why didn't you edit it? Well, sadly, I shouldn't have used my own email address like that, and I did. And they accepted my edits, but then they said, we buy you for a year or something for you editing. With Nigel Cumberland at gmail.com. That's my username. I mean, I should have, but that was me being naive. But it then was accepted. And I'm telling you, it wasn't because my book was 100 Things Successful People Do, was really well known. It's just, I maximized, I grabbed every link I could to say, look, it's being reviewed, it's in this newspaper, these are comments about it, it's in this foreign language. And I must have just gone over the threshold, because it's true, Wikipedia is very demanding. And someone told me, but Nigel, having your book as a Wikipedia page is much easier. The hardest thing is a living person Wikipedia page. There they have, I think, 3 editors, which are just volunteers, all have to approve, and you have to go over a certain hurdle. And there's different criteria. But a book is easier. So as long as you've got 2 or 3, I don't know, book reviews or decent mentions, you make sure they're in it, And so there was never any problem about having the Wikipedia page for my book, 100 things that people accepted. I don't recall, I made it myself as well. I just made it. I didn't even pretend it wasn't me. I didn't write Nigel, but it was the same IP address probably as they knew. Because Wikipedia, by the way, if it notices you're editing your own things, it'll block your IP address from editing on Wikipedia for a period of time. The systems are unbelievable to stop self-editing because they know we all self-edit. It's very weird. But now I can self-edit. Now I can go in myself and edit because it's been fully approved and it's got all these different codes in this second page. But that took a couple of years actually before anyone got around to then saying what grade do we give the quality of the page and what do we accept it as. And then on my Wikipedia page at the bottom, I have these author codes linked to online libraries. So all our books will be with the US Library of Congress because I think they have all books sold in the USA. And so my code, my book's code is there, as well as some other links. So it's that's fully credible. And I have been, you look at my edit page of my Wikipedia, so many established Wikipedia editors edited my page. It's fully legit. But for 2 years, it was awaiting approval, but it's allowed to be visible. Something like that. So I'd do it as soon as possible. Maybe each other can make each other's page. And then you're not doing it yourself. And if anyone says, who are you? You just say, actually, I know the author. I respect the author. I like the books. And that's fine. Readers can make a Wikipedia page for a favorite author. And this is how all it happens, right? It's knowing the footballer, knowing the author.
I have a question, Nigel,
Please.
about, because you're talking a lot about, I mean, I loved your slides and how you have this steadfast vision and you just went for it like a race car driver, you know, and you didn't stop, you didn't miss a beat. So there's just like this myth that just because you're with a big five publishing that you know, marketing doesn't exist for the author, but this is not true. It doesn't matter whether you're with, you know, co-publishing, self-publishing, you know, Hatchet or whoever. You do have to do your own marketing, don't you? Because I don't see any rep from your company.
I think I got into like Woman's Own or Woman's Daily in the UK because of my publisher, and maybe the Independent or Express. They'd send copies. But all they've done is send copies to, say, the Sunday supplement editors or something. So that helped, but not big time. Emirates Literature Festival, Hachette proposed it, but actually they introduced me, but actually I could have introduced myself. Because I had a Dubai connection, they were very open. So there's a little bit of help. I had minimal control over I was given, the first one, they said to me, Nigel, we're designing your book cover. And they gave me like 3 or 4 designs. What do you think? And then I'd give comments. And it was out of my control. I was a contributor to my own book. And so no sale on pricing, no sale distribution at all. My book just goes out. And I suppose I trust it goes further, but then I get a small royalty. So there's no model where I can earn more. It's simply, you know, overseas, I might get 5% or 3%. A foreign language, I might get 2 or 3% maximum wholesale, 5% of my book overseas, maybe if I'm lucky, 10% in the UK, the UK edition, and 10 in the US. So, but no, going back to marketing, Patrick, your question, there are no massive benefits, no. And they still push me. And they like me. So Hodder and Stoughton, John Merry, the imprints are now under Nicholas Brealey. It's one group. They like me because they know I'm pushing my social media. They know I've got 10,000 LinkedIn, 2,500 on Facebook. They know I've turned my social media away from this is me on holiday to me and my books and my related coaching and speaking. So they produced for me, for my latest book, if you look at my social media, they produced some nice JPEGs and I reposted them. And they've actually asked me, do I want more? Well, actually anyone could make those. So no disrespect to my publisher, but I mean that. So this is why if I was starting again, I wouldn't mind where I was with. I'd like the knowledge I have now.
Right.
Because I think that's the key. Because my editor, Ian, has told me a few times, only 1 in 20 books gets past 10,000 sales, and these are books they really push. So this is a big publisher, being really selective. One of my friends, actually Todd on the call now, he may become a Hasmar publisher. They're very selective. I've put his name forward, many names forward to Hachette, no reply, very selective. But even they then do all this selection, but they have many of their books not getting past the first print run. And the first print runs, as you probably know, I don't know what, 2,000, 3,000, I don't know, very small number, like the first print runs.
First print
so
runs
many
are
books
very
I know
small.
never get past it, even with the big publishers.
Yep.
But they can produce 100 books a month. That's what they're doing in the UK. Hachette UK is 100 books a month. So they can afford to fail how many times and wait for their Stephen Hawking or someone that they have to go big time. And did you put your hand up with the paper? No. Oh. I sense this conversation's more valuable than talking about leadership. Some of your own questions on leadership, which are quite generic, you know. So I'm happy to bring in more questions of any kind.
We have a mentor that tells us that 95%, one of my mentors says that 95% is marketing and 5% is just writing the book.
Right.
It's actually Peggy McCall.
Maybe.
She endorsed 3 of my books. And I really realized that you can't just write it and think that it's going to fly and go by itself. You know, and long gone are the days where you can just sit back and think that nobody's going to want to hear you or see you.
And I think, Bashmina, we have trouble letting go of but I've written this great book because of our ego. I had a friend in Singapore share their book with me, and I thought it was appalling. I thought, what a bunch of nonsense. Honestly, I read the first page, and I know how some editors must read the first page of books and go, no. I said, what? It was a good friend of my wife and I. I said, my wife, what do we say to him? I said, be honest. I said, if I'm honest, it's going to be, he's so proud of this book. And he wants me to sell his book to publishers, pass it on. And in the end, I was honest when I met him. I said, I don't think it really works. And what was amazing was, he said, yeah, that's what my wife said. Because I thought, he's the kind of man, if he got his book published, he'd be saying to the publisher, where's the sales? Where's the sales? Because I could see how very proud man, right? Mm-hmm. And you're right, Pashmina, whether it's 95-5 or 70-30, it's definitely majority is on your own efforts. And it's also a bit of luck and it's patience too. It's like, well, maybe it'll take a couple of years. Robin Sharma speaks about that first couple of years of just out of a box selling books, right? His Monk Who Sold the Ferrari and whatever. And then after, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years, he's selling, I don't know how many millions. He's just gone into the stratosphere, right? He's the 0.1% of the world's authors, right? He's gone to that level. But to begin with, it was just, he believed his first book was really fun and good. Going around Canada, I think he's Canadian, right? Giving his talks, books in a box, bringing them out on a table. So I think it's also about being honesty, being open, patience, being willing to market. And also realizing maybe your book isn't very good and maybe it's time to write another even better book. You know, it's that sense of, well, if you've got other books in you, do you not wait for your first book and think, well, this must be successful? And it comes back to why you're writing, actually. And is it just a one book kind of situation, or is it just, well, actually, I could produce even better something? So my first books, so until 2016, no real success, but I enjoyed it for branding. It was fun. 2016, this got launched. Kind of quiet. 2017 began picking up. 2018, whoosh, 20 odd languages. Russia, it was the top selling book 2 years ago in Russia. The Russian version of this. Wow. It's tens of thousands in Russia. Amazing. And it's coming out in Japan next week. And that's a big anticipated launch. So that's 4 years since August 2016. And that was my, I don't know, 5th book. So
Nigel, I have a question
go
about
on,
that.
Please. Hi, go on then.
You're talking about when you first started your presentation, you were talking about how you were capturing every moment of success that your book had anywhere to make it look more successful, and to basically show off every little bit of success. I think that's brilliant. But then you talked about the publisher selling international rights.
Yeah.
And I was wondering at that point, so as a publisher, what we do is we leave the rights. The whole point is that the author maintains all of those rights so they can actually sell. Do you regret that you didn't have the rights to sell them? Now they're millions sold in Russia and such.
Well, no, I mean, I get royalties. I don't know. Actually, Dave, it's a good question. Now, this is where actually I don't quite know how Hazmat works, say with the book fairs. All these like Taiwanese book publisher, Russian book publisher comes and they're looking for like European titles or American titles to sort of buy the rights for their country in Russian. I don't think I'd have the reach. I don't think I'd be. I'm in the Ukraine. I'm in Slovakia, Czech Republic. I'm all over Europe. Holland. I'm coming out in Poland. How on earth would I achieve that? So, but it isn't much money, honestly. It's like 2%. It's like some really small royalty will come to me from that country's books. It's really small. But I think from a personal satisfaction point of view, I love it. So I guess, Dave, there's something there in your points about models.
So that 2 or 3% doesn't sound like that much for a foreign sale.
No,
but
it's not. But I am assured
that
that's normal. And I must confess, I've been invited numerous times to Moscow to speak. I don't have a desire anymore to go to Russia.
Right.
Well,
if your book is sold,
I could have done a really good thing on the speaking tour or giving self-help leadership workshops. The book would be an entree, and I'd be signing the copies and just asking for large fees, I guess, for those few days of work so. I think, Dave, it's good for people to have these conversations and perhaps think, well, where are you as an author living? What languages do you speak? Do you want to even approach in, say, Kiev or in Sao Paulo publishers where you lived? And because I think if I could start again, I wouldn't mind fewer countries, but maybe more money. Or if I was living in Brazil, for example, I was English, I would make sure my book was in Brazilian and I would push it. And I'd probably think South American Spanish. Rather than Hope, which is my publisher just happens to sell. But this one is actually this, and I think it comes back to as well, and I'm afraid at the end of the day, it's like anything we market, how appealing is it, fiction or non-fiction? And I must say, I found this far too simple. And I thought this is a bit cliche, but I was so happy the publisher and I agreed this wording. And this yellow has really worked to be attractive. So I suppose at the end of the day as well, it comes back to where it can be sold in what languages is honestly, how attractive is it? And it's also some like science fiction. Some countries don't care for science fiction. Whereas some other things,
which is sure, everybody has a
so some parts of the world and like,
if you're selling in different parts of the world, if you're promoting yourself as well as you are, if you're doing Wikipedia pages, if you're taking pictures everywhere and doing every link that you can find on the internet and continuously Googling yourself, you're like a marketing genius. It's so wonderful to have. You're a dream, a marketing dream for any publisher. If you're going to be doing that, right? So if the mindset of the author is that good, of course you're going to be successful. That's got to be
making it sound too easy.
It's a lot of work.
You're all true what you said. Not quite as sweet the journey.
Yeah,
but noted.
Yes.
And 2017, I had to let myself keep doing it and disregard some comments from people who thought I was blatantly showing off, people close to me.
Yeah.
And I had to say, actually, it's become my business now.
Yeah. And
so
it is your business. Exactly.
And I actually have tried paying for ads on Facebook, Instagram, and I got loads of extra likes. And I put an Amazon link, which I think I could tag. Not that many extra sales. So I haven't spent much, maybe £500 or dollars or maximum.
Yeah.
In more last year and this year. I tried LinkedIn, Facebook. I didn't try Twitter. Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. I wasn't that impressed. And so it's funny, I think, Dave, a lot of it can be free stuff, but I think it's consistency. So I think on my Instagram, I've got 2,500 pictures now, or something like that. I found every single post in my book, and I've learned ways of searching for my book and myself, even misspelling my book title and my name. And I'm amazed what I come up with. I'm amazed how there's suddenly a very Muslim Pakistani man who looks very religious, and he's giving a YouTube video series on my book. And I asked a friend who speaks Urdu to check. So it's really cool. So the guy is very religious. He looks it and acts it. But actually, what he's saying is light-hearted things from one of your books. And I found that by accident. So it's fun. It's also fun.
Yeah.
But I always remember I'm not very successful. I'm earning tens of thousands of dollars a year max, not masses. So keep it in perspective. I don't show off personally to people. I quietly give books away to people. I said that to my brother last week. I met him in New York. I said, this is a new book. I'm sure you'd like to read it. He's in awe. He's jealous. He just took it, had a look, put it down, never spoke about it.
Yeah.
I didn't push.
But Nigel,
so I'm used to being low key with people.
Yeah, but it's your effort.
High key online.
Yeah, it's your effort. It's you're not spending billions of dollars of advertising, but it's your effort. And and like you say, the consistency, the long-term marketing.
Well, I mean,
it's exactly
my
what
slides, Pashmina and Judy have, they can always share it as a slide or PDF with you all. Go to see, just to see and take notes and delete or keep. Yeah. And I encourage you all to produce your own almost like PowerPoint slide. Yeah. And why I produced the PowerPoint slide was I already had a draft of it because my publisher at the London Book Fair in March, which was cancelled because of COVID, went online and asked me for some slides of my book visibility, which they'd have showing on a screen in the non-fiction section, I guess, as online. I don't know how it works. So that people rock up from Holland or Portugal and they might have seen the book in the list and they can see, okay, so that book's visible globally. Okay, so good. So there's some momentum. So if I produce a Portuguese version, it's part of something that already exists. So yeah, that's why I have a PowerPoint slide that I keep updated. No, that's brilliant. So don't feel you're showing off. For those who are very humble, and I was humble in Yorkshire in my upbringing, it's not we're showing off about ourselves to say, look at me, I'm amazing. It's to say, be proud, look at my book, it's there. Visible. This is what it is. I'm not saying it's a top. It's not New York bestseller #1, Times bestseller for 10 years, nothing like that. It is what it is, but I'm making sure that is visible. Even if it was just one good book review after 1 month, I'm sure I was sharing that with my publisher to say, look, I'm getting some traction. I found this in a Singapore newspaper. Yeah, exactly. In the Gulf News
and the fact
Dubai.
that again, it's your effort. So you've shared so much good information with us here today, and I did not know what to expect. There was a lot of goodness there, and a lot of good ideas.
Exactly. You know, one of the things that you just said, I think everybody should hear too, is you didn't just share it with other people. You didn't just share it on your own social media. You shared it with your publisher, who paid attention to it, who can, in our case, we can actually share it because, right? Yeah. Because if we hear something interesting, we see a really good endorsement, we see somebody holding your book, if people should realize, authors should realize that you're also advertising for the publisher as well. As good as it is for you, if it's good for you, it's good for us, because we want to market our clients.
Exactly. And so,
success stories.
Agreed. It's symbiotic. And my Paris Hilton thing, right, where the writer of the Harper's article says, while she's holding a copy of,
Exactly.
My publisher posted, I sent them the web link to the
Article.
magazine. They posted it and said,
Yeah.
even Paris Hilton loves it. And then gave, and that's it. I think that was it. It was one of those very subtle kind of things of saying,
Yep.
Basically we're implying Paris Hilton's endorsed my book, which she did indirectly. I don't think she'd ever sue because it's not, it wasn't lying. So it's spotting. And by the way, I would highly recommend you send books to famous people. Just send books out there. I haven't done that yet. I haven't done that yet. And I'm now thinking, because there's a 3 in the series, send them as a trilogy to people and just put a note like I did to Keir Starmer, the Labour leader. And I'm thinking I invest in the money, postage, and it may have an interesting life that one of those recipients might send one of the books onto their social media. Or my daughter says pay influencers. I haven't, but that's because I'm not used to, I haven't quite got my head around influencers and quite, is it worth it? But that's another option as well, is $100 here, $100 there. Yeah. To certain influencers. But I think I'm doing enough at the moment not to not need to, but even I can spot some gaps, things I could do and have a little budget in mind.
Exactly.
Otherwise, I'm afraid our books get lost. They get lost. Kino Kuniya in Dubai was the world's largest bookshop. I remember one of the staff there telling me how many books they have. I mean, was it 500,000? I mean, it was some enormous number of books. So even if your book is in a bookstore, it gets lost. So you've got to do it. You've got to keep lifting it up, making it visible. Yeah, exactly. Unless, of course, you're, Stephen Hawking or, Stephen King. Got your own traction. But they're very few. Right? They're just a point some percent of the authors now. Just that elite who. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, today has been incredible. I have learned a lot, and I know that we've had some incredible questions. So, Nigel, this has been amazing. Honestly, you've given us a wealth of information. I know we didn't get to the leadership part, but no. And the leadership questions you all posted, they're all relevant questions, but I can't give you. Okay, you can. I would not give you amazing answers. I'd give you answers. But I think what I gave you today was more useful than answering leadership questions. But what I'll do is, Judy sent me 5. I'll answer them in an email and she'll share them back with you. And she'll give you my email address. If you actually wanted to explore those leadership questions, I'm happy to do so in a couple of emails, So wow. I'll do that. Thank you so much. And you can see the slides. You want to see the slides of the PDF. Actually, it's a PowerPoint. It's a really big file. So as a PDF, it's safer, but I'm happy to see that as a reminder of what you might produce in your fiction and non-fiction books. Thank you so much. It is about what you're like. And that's what I think there's a lesson in what you're doing, even by saying that, is you're just giving the information away. And because of it, then even that's going to gain you some traction as well, because we're going to, but you just give it. And that's what's incredible. And that's part of your success, is that you've got this great heart to give to others and to share. And the information you've shared with all of us today has been incredible. I think that Pashmina is probably going to want to take a picture too. Okay. Let's smile. Everyone smile. Cheryl, you're a bit dark. You need to put a light on. No. Or got it. Excellent. Right. Thank you. And I see there's some wonderful comments in the comment section thank you. And I'll go to, and Pashmina and Judy, I'll introduce you to Todd by email and leave you all to connect, Todd. And I'm happy to talk Todd separately, Todd. But everyone else, happy to find me by email. I'm happy to connect. And I'm sure you've got some amazing stories as well that maybe I need to start looking at and watching. And I'm following House of Mark on social media and things. And I think recognizing we're not competitors. Exactly. At the end of the day, if you have a competitor mode, you're lost, because your book is. Oh, I go to Waterstones in the UK, and there's one copy of my book amongst 200 other self-help books. So at the end of the day, you have to trust someone will find your books and read them, and don't be jealous if the bookshop has 10 copies of another book that you feel is a competitive book. What the hell? You just be happy.
Exactly.
So,
Well, you
yeah.
said about the bad review. A bad review is still a good review.
Yeah, but luckily
because
they're rare.
People are
Luckily
talking
they're rare.
about you.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get lots
exactly.
of bad reviews, well, hopefully this is the quality process of working with Houseman or any publisher, is you iron out any possibility of it being unpopular, it being the wrong book. Whether people love it, I mean, some people will love it. Some people give 3 out of 5 on Amazon. I get a few 2s, get a few 5s. Luckily, I'm towards 4 or 5 out of 5. But you know, I'm go to my Goodreads. There's 1 out of 5. People saying a lot of things like, oh, boring, repetitive, blah 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 blah. So it's just recognizing. Luckily, it's towards the positive, but there's a volume of comments, which I think in itself entices other readers.
Absolutely does. Absolutely. Well, thank you again. Today has been incredible. You've been a wealth of information, and I know that there's a lot of value.
I'm happy to speak again, or at least connect, and it's good. Thank you as not being a houseback author to be brought in, because it's nice for both of us, or I guess it's all of us to get different perspectives.
That's it. That's it. It's just giving different perspectives. So again, thank you. Appreciate it. And thank you everyone for joining today.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy your day, everyone.
Bye, Nigel. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.